Good morning, everyone. This is the Shank's morning walk with Antréa Ferguson and Shankar Antréa. Antréa, how are you today?
I'm doing just fine. How are you?
Me too. And we have such a great topic this morning, and that is create content people finish watching or reading. And that is something that I would say is not done very well by a lot of content creators because they don't keep in mind what platform they are using to distribute their content. So it depends on whether you use YouTube or a live or an audio or a Facebook post, a written post, a blog post. It really depends on what you always need to think about. What situation is your audience in at that moment? Do they already know you? Is an introduction needed or not? So on and so forth. There are really a lot of pitfalls. For example, people giving introductions that are too long, not getting to the point. That is a very common one. And then also the structure of their content. And what I notice, Antréa, is that just like when you go to a networking event and people try to meet each other and give each other their business cards and whatnot, as soon as they are in that frame of mind of this is a professional networking event, they just start behaving so awkwardly and not naturally, and they are just like, and same with public speaking. As soon as they think of it, okay, this is now public speaking, and I have to like stand in front of the camera or behind a lectern. What happens is that people lose their natural ability to just speak and communicate, and that is really kind of weird. I think it's part of the nervosity that most everyone
Yeah,
has, and
I,
it's
I have
also
to.
part of trying to mimic others who are something that we are not.
Okay, I'm tapping in. First of all, I am one of those awkward people. Awkward black girl. I don't know if y'all have seen that. It's an amazing web series. Well, it started as a web series by the genius Issa Rae, who is now on HBO, has written books, an author, published. She's a creative director, probably an employer to many people. So she knows a lot about business and she tells her story through her characters, et cetera, et cetera. But I think we can, at least many of us or most people, fall into the category of not necessarily being super comfortable or being super fluent and eloquent when they speak every single time. I think that, especially as a second language learner of English, or maybe even third, or I don't, you learn so many languages at once, and you are obviously at the highest proficiency level, what the super high proficiency level in English, obviously, and you learn language by speaking, by practicing, by being fearless and wanting to communicate more than the fear of communicating wrong. And over time, especially when you are meeting people, which is a great opportunity to network and practice your language skills, then you maybe don't have the same challenge as people who didn't put themselves in that situation. So I just had to speak up for those of us that have not the most natural experience or ability to not fumble or speak in a certain way, like in the most Toastmasters delivery. But that doesn't mean that you should not seek to correct that because it's such an important part of the audience experience that they are not going through the challenges with you. And that really needs to be something that you seek to change if you already know, I'm not the most comfortable, or I have these things that get in the way of communicating my message. Because ultimately, and that's what marketing is you're communicating your message. So know if you have something you want to add to that, but this guy knows 5, 6 languages and understands them. So I think I gotta have to just drop that in there. Maybe you don't speak for the masses.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice that you mentioned that I know all the languages, but that has not immediately anything to do with being natural. You all can be natural, and I will be the first one to admit that I was awkward too at the beginning. I think most people, probably almost everyone, is unless they are a natural born talent.
Okay, that's a good point, and I don't want to undermine your efforts that you've had and strides you've made to get to that point. But the fact that I don't remember, I can't detect that that would have ever been a part of your history is amazing. And it's just a testament to say that the listeners can get there too, to where now they can recall or observe other people being awkward, which is funny, right? We all know it. We all know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and it is really, I think so much is also, before we actually had a formula that we want to reveal today that would tell you which elements you have to include in everything you publish so that people actually finish watching or reading your content. But there is something else that really needs to be addressed, and that is the fear that people have when they create that deals with, worrying what others think
I
and
love it.
say. Because really, when I watch content creators that I admire, and that's really these days it's Shanae Moray and John Lee, our mentors, they just are there, they're on a mission, and they don't really care to put on an act. They care, don't get me wrong, they care about flawless delivery and about effective delivery, but the mission, the purpose of what they are doing, what they are saying, and what they want people to take away from what they are saying really, really matters much more to them than counting ums and ahs or stuff like that. And also, they have, I think that's very, they're super authentic in that way. And I know Seth Godin recently published something where he basically rants about authentic, uh, authenticity.
Authenticity.
Yeah,
He
there
said
we
it's
go.
a crock. Yeah.
And and I in the way where he framed in the way where he frames it, it is actually, it makes a lot of sense.
And it's a hook,
But what?
right?
Yeah,
That's
it
it.
is totally hooked.
I want to add
Maybe,
something.
yeah, please do.
You're talking about Shanae Murray, John Lee, Seth Godin, even. And I think, okay, authenticity is a crock. That is the hook, but there's also like this boom, like this confidence behind that statement. And I think that overrides any kind of imperfection that one has. It is so much about confidence. And that goes back to being an expert, knowing what you're talking about. People don't want to hear, I think that, today I'm going to talk about, well, something that could be possibly, maybe, people don't want to hear that. They want to be captured by, well, the first thing you're going to talk about needs to be a big boom, a big bang, important, hooking, grabbing, authentic, and confident.
Yeah, absolutely. I always think about these situations, and that can help you so much if you do that too. I try to picture this virtual situation in real life outside of a business context. When you are within a group of friends and you are excited about something new that you learned, maybe you have discovered this awesome new restaurant in town that is very affordable, but you gotta get a coupon from a magazine and then you gotta go on a certain day, right? What you naturally do is you go to your friend and say, hey, I found this awesome place in San Antonio and they have amazing vegan food and they're very affordable. But what you need to do is you need to get that newspaper that you can get for free at this bar, get the coupon, and then go on a Friday night because that's when it's not too busy and my favorite waitress is there who will take really good care of you. So that is,
Absolutely.
that is, yeah, and that's what I mean with authenticity. I really had an intention, an authentic intention there to share something that I'm excited about, and it followed the structure that we will get to right now. Because every great piece of content has this structure somehow built into it. And that is, Antréa.
AIDA. AIDA. Marketing 101.
All right. AIDA or AIDA is what most marketers, copywriters know, and it is pretty widely known within marketing and PR professionals. And it stands for
Awareness, interest, desire, and action.
okay, and I am going to be very bold and authentic here and say I really don't like that acronym because I think the words they stand for, they are not really describing what you really should do. Because whenever you look up the definition of AIDA, for example, with desire, they say you should describe action steps or solution steps, right? And what does that have to do with desire? So I propose a new framework that is based on AIDA, but that is more easy to understand when you are in the moment and you need to craft your content. And that would be HPSC. So the H stands for hook, which is attention. Actually, it's awareness, right? Yeah, awareness in AIDA. The hook is what I mentioned when you go to your best friend and you say, hey, I found this awesome vegan place in San Antonio. They have amazing vegan food. Now, here, the important part is you know your audience. You know you're probably not going to tell that to a barbecue lover. You know that's a fellow vegan. And
Especially not in Texas.
yeah, and they want to eat in San Antonio. They live in San Antonio in your town. So that's your hook. That's really something they desire, and that's the hook. The P, which in AIDA is interest, the P stands for problem to solve. Okay, so interest in AIDA says, okay, you gotta say something that generates interest. Okay, but I say, think of P, what is a problem to solve? The problem to solve is finding a good place for vegans that is affordable. So that is the P. What's next? AID, desire. Um, desire. Do you know in AIDA, how they describe that, Antréa?
Yeah, I do. So they say this is the phase of the consumer journey where the lead is actively preparing themselves to make a purchase. So they'll be looking at the product, they'll be thinking about the price, they have that desire. They're still shopping around, but they have that desire.
Okay, so maybe that makes some sense on some level. And again, I'm not saying AIDA is not correct because a lot of marketers use it, but to me, it makes much more sense to think about now. This is where we talk about the solution, and you should include 3 steps in your solution. or two, no more than three, I would say. And in my example, I said, okay, so you have to go to that bar, step one. You have to get the coupon from that newspaper that you get for free there, step two. And then you should go on a Friday night because that's when the awesome waitress is there, step three. Okay? And because the human brain likes to have these mini checklists because it gives lots of satisfaction and a feeling of accomplishment when you
Yes.
get that done.
Yes. And also, we like being told.
Yep. So then the last one, A in AIDA, stands for action. And the common definition of that point, Antréa, is?
Well, they'll say it's arguably the most important step of the consumer journey, and it's where the lead is finally converted to a sale. And
Mm-hmm.
or well, the action can also be joining a newsletter or arranging a consult or something like that. Just any action that you drive the lead to do.
Yeah. So in my framework that I propose, we said there it's HPSC, and the C stands for call to action. So it is pretty similar, but I like the call part because it is a verb that lets you know you need to
Mm-hmm.
call to action,
Mm-hmm.
And by that in marketing speak we mean you need to say something where you literally prompt people to do something. And you would be so surprised how important that is. Like, yes, you always think implicitly when I paste a link somewhere, people know that I want them to click the link. They know that. Why else would the link be there in the first place, right? And while that is true, I can guarantee you that adding a sentence, click the link to get instructions to how you can find that bar where you can get the coupons, that will
100%.
drastically increase the click rate, if you will.
I mean, people are stupid. We can all be one of them. But you may think something is obvious, but it's not. People will do what you tell them to do. I think Twitter exists to be requoted or retweeted. Liked and all of that is fine. But I went to a conference last week. There was a doctor. It was a shout out to Dr. Marian Matz, if you're listening to this. She made a statement in response to a speaker and supporting what the speaker said. I think she took a photo during the conference and then tweeted it. And then, so when she stood up and introduced herself and gave her statement, she also said, and I just tweeted about this. She turned around, looked at the audience, and pointed. So if you're following me and if you're not, follow me, and then retweet it. So guess what I did? I was already following her, but even if I had liked it, I wouldn't have thought to retweet it. I retweeted it and I wrote my content. Unfortunately, I didn't give a call to action because people would have taken it, but it works. She got I don't know how many people to retweet and to follow her because she gave people the call to action. So, I mean, that's just one example, and that's on social. That's not even trying to get people to visit your website or go to your store, which is hilarious. But sometimes we miss it. Think for people, be a step ahead, give them a clear call to action, and don't give them three. Don't even give them two. Give them one singular call to action and watch your conversions increase.
Absolutely. And I'm going to give a live example, as our good friend John Lee would say. Do you want me to give a live example of this right now? Type in yes. Okay, if you listen to this, type in yes in the comments. Please do that. Okay, here we go. If you found this conversation very, very interesting, and if you would like to have more of that in a concise, strategic way where you consume it whenever you want, replay it in an affordable way, go to shanks.club, SHANKX.club. Go there, use the coupon code LIVE, LIVE, and you'll get this awesome content, similar content, a little bit more detailed. It's video recordings with step-by-step instructions. Once a week, I'll drop something that will help you grow your business and your online visibility. And there we go,
Awesome.
Antréa. I built in my call to action.
Well, awesome. We hope to see y'all there at Shanks.club.
All right. Well, I hope for those of you who are in Florida, I hope you are safe. I know a lot of destruction was caused, and I just hope you are safe and haven't been harmed, no bodily harm, and you have your power and infrastructure back as soon as possible. Our mentor Shanae Moray, she is definitely there in Florida, and we think about her a lot. So
Yeah.
that's it for today. Have a great Friday and an awesome weekend ahead. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.